Oh, so we already have someone asking his first questions. Sir, kindly state your name, your business sector, and please couch your statement in a question form. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Bobby Batumbakal. I represent the manufacturing sector, including the chemical sector, and I work for the Dow Chemical Company. Comment and then question. First of all, I'm very pleased that with what Secretary Pernia and Secretary Dominguez mentioned, that in spite of the economic growth, we're looking forward to more inclusive industries. And Secretary Pernia added that manufacturing and agriculture are two of the sectors that need to be expanded and continue to expand. So my first comment is that we have seen the resurgence of manufacturing the past few years, and then we would like to ask how the new government can continue to be more aggressive in terms of growing the manufacturing sector, together with the private sector, of course, with the lead of the government. And then second is that given the achievements of the manufacturing sector, how can we translate that kind of rapid growth to the agricultural sector? Maraming salamat po.
Hello. Hi, Mr. Bobby, I'm Mon Lopez,
Yes, sir.
incoming DTI Secretary. In answer to your question, part of the agenda, and to add more details and color to the presentation earlier, on the manufacturing or the trade and industry side, we shall pursue an innovation and competitive culture in promoting, industries in the country. We shall focus on industries where we really have comparative advantage, and that is where we will pour in all resources and pour in all support that will make those industries really innovative. Being innovative is not an option. It is a must. Everyone, from talking of big businesses, small businesses, that kind of innovation culture should be there. Second, maintaining a competitive policy environment that will encourage and nurture industries to be at their best, to ensure, in effect, an affordable prices, quality products available to the consumers. No? I'm talking also of focusing the support to core industries, again, where we can be known for, where Philippines can be known for. In effect, focusing on a few industries that are really, would have good potential and where the country will be known for. I'm also thinking of really enhancing the strong partnership between big and small companies as a way, as a business model, to really promote and develop micro SME. Link them with big businesses. We're talking of inclusive business models. The challenge to many business sector moving from here on is, what is your inclusive business plan? What is your inclusive business plan? How can you really expand the benefits of your company, including micro SME, in your value chain? Because as you grow, they will grow. You provide, the big business can provide a sustainable market for micro SME for them to also grow. That to us would have a better multiplier effect in promoting industry development. Okay. Investment promotion will be there so that we can further enhance the entry of investments and create more employment and income opportunities. Okay. And of course, I should not forget the real mandate from President Duterte. Do not forget the poor. Let us uplift the quality of lives of the poor. Make sure that any industry development efforts will always include the poor, and that's where we're talking of MSME. Related to that would be pushing industries to the countryside, rural development, and linkages to the extent possible with the agriculture sector. Now we should be talking of agri-modernization and value adding as a way to really encourage quality employment, because higher value added would mean better income that should translate also to the employment and jobs generated in those sectors. So these are just a few of what we can discuss on the manufacturing side. There are other concerns, international trade and maximizing the gains on international trade, but we can discuss that on another matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary Lopez, we're excited to work with you on that one. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Lopez. And next, sir, please state your name, your industry, and who do you address your question to?
Hi, Ramon Garcia, DFNN Group. I'm representing the information technology sector. Mayong buntag sa inyong lahat. And I'm really truly impressed with the selection of the economic cluster of President Duterte, Artugade, Sunny Dominguez, just to name a few. My question, and I saw Peter Wallace, and I know this is a main question a lot of the chambers of commerce have been asking, especially when it comes to government. What is the view of protecting the sanctity of government contracts with private sector enterprises? I know Hans Sikat, the president of PSE, is also here. I know they're clearing the rules for the PPP, which I think is a cornerstone. And obviously, the ability to enter into contracts with government and have them respected are a critical component. Thank you.
Secretary Dominguez.
Hello. You know, honoring contracts is part of law and order. And our president is a law and order guy. But let me ask Secretary Vit Aguirre there what he has to say about our honoring government contracts. Secretary is the incoming DOJ Secretary.
Good morning. Well, we have to honor our contracts because the contracts are the law between the parties. So, unless the contract violates a specific law, then the contract is valid and must be honored at all times. I don't know if you are referring to any other instance where the sanctity of contract cannot be honored.
Maraming salamat po. I think certain groups from, I won't mention them, some of the largest telcos as well as some of the other companies will be reassured by your policy stance. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Can I add to that? Insofar as the Department of Transportation is concerned, I have given marching order to my incoming staff that all contracts that have been signed and contracted, as a matter of course, will have to be honored. It is not fair to assume that all contracts already signed, consummated, and contracted is anomalous. We will assume that the contract executed, contracted, and signed is an order and dictated by the need of this country. In other words, it shall be honored. If along the way, as you honor it, you will find some curious matter or how shall, then the curious matter and how shall will have to be addressed separately. But the provision of the contract, which is related to development, growth, will have to be honored. Will have to be honored.
May I please be allowed to respond to an earlier question? I'm Manny Piñol. I'm the incoming Agriculture Secretary. There was an earlier question which concerned agriculture. When President-elect Duterte named me as his Agriculture Secretary, he gave me two very specific instructions. One, make sure that there is available and affordable food. Number two, stop corruption in the Department of Agriculture. So what I did right after that I made a nationwide journey all over the country, except for a few island provinces. I've covered the country by land. And after that, I drafted the first 100 days program. And I would like to share this with you so you would have an idea of what to expect from the Department of Agriculture. First, we will set a mind setting, a reorientation. You know, through the years, I believe the Department of Agriculture got lost along the way. So we have to bring back the Department of Agriculture to its basic mandate, which is to produce food for the Filipino people. The first thing that we will do in the department, first 100 days, is to reorient the officials and employees of the DA, bring them back to the basic function of producing food. Number two, and I believe this was emphasized by Secretary Pernia, lugmok ang agrikultura. We're negative 4.4% in the first quarter of 2016. The first thing that we will do is to initiate a cash for work program for the farmers and the fisher folk to allow them to recover from the effects of El Nino. And after that, we will start with the crafting of what President Duterte wanted to do, a color-coded map for Philippine agriculture, which would identify which area could produce best which kind of commodity based on geographic, soil type, and climatic conditions. This will serve as the guide map for Philippine agriculture. The third thing that we will do is to conduct a national food consumption quantification survey, which would determine what kind of food and the volume of food the Filipinos would consume. This would also project the food consumption of the country in relation to population growth. We need this to be able to prepare for the growth of the population of the country. I have proposed during the last meeting of the Cabinet Secretary Designates a necessary support for the farming sector in the form of seeds, fertilizers, farm inputs for 2 planting seasons. For the fisher folk, we need to distribute fishing boats and nets. And I will engage our stakeholders in a face-to-face consultation all over the country. I will start July 7 in Mindoro, and every region thereafter will be visited by the Secretary of Agriculture. Project management teams will also be organized in the different provinces which register the highest poverty incidence. And we will do this in coordination with the local government units. We will also initiate a special project which would look, inconsequential initially, but I hope you will understand. This special project is called Pagkain para sa Masa. It's just a simple arroz caldo feeding station. But the purpose of this is to bring the city dwellers, the street dwellers, and the urban poor to the folds of government. And we will train them with food production using the greenhouse technology of Israel. Another special project would involve the sea gypsies, the badyaos. We will engage them in cleaning the waters, the coastal waters. And in preparation for the La Nina, I have instructed already the incoming PCIC chief to prepare the insurance program for farmers in areas which will be threatened by La Nina. There will also be interagency connectivity between the DA and the Bureau of Customs to stop smuggling of rice, smuggling of meat products, and smuggling of agricultural products. In the end, I draw inspiration from the statement of the President made on April 21, where he said that his governance will be simple. He will just ask 4 questions. Nakakain ka na ba? To the Filipino people addressed. Have you eaten? Nakapag-aral ba yung mga anak mo? Were your children able to go to school? Nakapagpa-hospital ka ba? Were you able to receive medical services? Number 4, wala ka na bang takot? These are the instructions of the President that I draw inspiration from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Manny Piñol. And next question, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I have the next question, ma'am, because this is in relation to what Secretary Piñol has been talking about. This is very important because this would mean that everybody will no longer have breakfast if this problem will not be addressed. And I'm very much thankful that I'll be talking next to Secretary Piñol because this is much of his concern. Secretary Piñol, I have already spoken before the election, before the campaign, to the President-elect Rodrigo Duterte regarding this crisis of table eggs. Itong itlog na kinakain natin sa breakfast ay baka magiging wala na po. Dahil Mindanao, especially Davao, has no breeder layer plant. Wala po tayong breeder layer. Wala po tayong sisiw na mangingitlog na nanggagaling dito sa Mindanao. Merong kakaunti sa Cagayan de Oro po. So what we have been doing for years is to get the day-old pullets, yung mangingitlog, from Luzon. And now it is getting to be a big problem because the airlines are no longer, or if ever they do, they are very discriminating in bringing this day-old pullets for Mindanao because of their problem of airline ventilation. Now, we tried hard to ship out from Luzon down here in Mindanao, but it entails as much as 10 to 20% mortality while in transit. That is why we are now having layers or chicken that lay eggs that are aging 110 weeks, whereas they are supposed to be only at 80 to 90 weeks.
Ma'am, I think I get your question. I got your question. What is it
Yes,
that
sir.
you want me to do for you?
Sir, what we need is for Mindanao to have our own breeder.
Would you like it privately owned? Would you like government to come in and help you?
Privately owned would be more efficient,
I've
sir.
asked the Secretary of Finance. There are no restrictions. Go ahead. What do you want me to do? Just tell me.
Sir, we have been asking for a permit to import.
Maybe you were asking the previous administration, ma'am. You're facing the new administration.
Please, sir, I'll be asking of it now.
Ma'am, I cannot do something now because July 1 pa po kami uupo. Pakiantay na po.
Ma'am, please.
Konti na lang, 2 linggo na lang. Oh, by the way, I also would like to share this. I was talking a while ago, sir, to the stakeholders of the banana industry. And this may apply to the other sectors as well. Alam niyo yung banana industry, talagang sariling sikap industry ito. Pinabayaan ito ng gobyerno, hindi naintindihan ng department kung ano ang banana industry, especially Cavendish banana. The industry is suffering right now. They're suffering from Panama disease and everything. So one of the programs that we will do is to establish laboratories for plant diseases, animal diseases in every region all over the country. We already have a model. I was in Cagayan Valley a week ago, and I saw a very beautiful model of one agriculture building where there is a soil testing laboratory, there is a plant disease testing laboratory, there is everything that you need to do. So, as the commitment of the Department of Agriculture in support of high-value crops, we will be putting up laboratories all over the country in key production areas of the country. Ma'am, pasensya na po. Antay lang po konti. Ilang araw na lang. Malapit na. Pag-upo namin, sigurado, bibigyan namin sa inyo yan.
Thank you, Secretary Piñol. And sir, the third microphone, please state your name, your industry, and your question.
Good morning. I am Roberto Bailosis of the Southern Philippines Deep Sea Fishing Association in Zamboanga City. This is an association of fishing operators engaged in sardine fishing. We supply the fish for 11 canning factories being distributed nationwide. The canned products are distributed nationwide. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to share what the incoming government can possibly address to increase competitiveness and the ease of doing business because our sector is being pressured of too much regulations. Number one, coming from Marina, we are not allowed to hire officers that are not graduates of any course. But we are only fishing 6 hours away from port. Number two, we have the BFAR, newly amended Fisheries Code, which was actually designed after the ILO Convention. Most of it requires for fishing that are exporting products to EU, but the sardine industry do not actually export the majority of the products to EU. Another thing is the DOLE Order Number 1. Just the same, this is designed after the ILO Convention. And by the way, that convention which was done 2007 in Geneva, Switzerland, for 15 days. I was also in attendance to that, and I have never recommended ratification of this because up to today, only 6 countries out of the over 100 countries that attended did not ratify. So please, we are asking the incoming government to address these concerns. Thank you.
Let me address the first issue about Marina. That is transportation. Number one, sir, I have met with the outgoing people in Marina and my present staff, and we have agreed to reduce the processing time in all DOT agencies by at least 50%. Hopefully, we can do this in the next 12 months. The ease of doing business will have to be addressed in relation not only to processes, but in relation to people as well. Kung tama ho yung proseso at mali yung tao, wala hong mangyayari sa mga proseso. At kung tama naman ho at tao, mali yung proseso, wala hong mangyayari sa hinahabol nating i-reduce yung processing time. Ito ho dapat ay magkaugma at kasado at kasal. Addressin ho natin yung issue nyo regarding fisheries. Babaguhin ko ho ang konsentrasyon ng Marina. In complementation with the PPA, ang gagawin ho natin dyan, dadagdagan ho natin yung puerto at palalakasin natin yung development ng tinatawag ng RORO. The Philippines is basically an archipelagic territory. And karamihan ho dyan, tubig. Ang komunikasyon ay mangyayari sa tinatawag na RORO. But you can have as many RORO as you can, pero kung wala namang puwertong pagdadaungan, problema ho. At kung meron din ho naman kayong mga puerto at walang RORO, may problema rin pa ho. Kaya nga ho, kaakibat sa pag-inspira and to encourage RORO, kailangan may komplementasyon na kung saan magkakaroon ng financing assistance sa gobyerno para yung kinakailangang RORO ay papasok. Ito ho, kakausapin namin ang DBP at Land Bank. Sana ho, sa pamagitan na ito, yung issue na ina-address nyo tungkol sa Marina ay ma-address. Yung issue ho regarding clearances, in the next 6 months or so, ay maiibsan. Tatlo ho yung isyong i-raise nyo sa inyong tanong, siguro dapat lang ipasa ko na sa Department of Agriculture yung pangalawang issue.
Sir, last Saturday, I actually met with some officials of the fishery group in General Santos City. And the problems being encountered by the group were referred to me, especially international fishing agreements. Ang problema doon nila, in the past, low-level officials were sent to attend international conventions. I promised them, prepare everything, I will represent you. I will attend these international conventions so that we could put forward our position. By the way, I think I will speak on behalf of the members of the Duterte cabinet. Last cabinet meeting po namin yung incoming members of the cabinet. The President's instruction was very clear. No corruption in this cabinet. I would like to appeal to all of you, those who have transacted business with the Department of Agriculture in the past. I know you have so many sad experiences. Under this presidency, I assure you, there will be no corruption in the Department of Agriculture. Kung sino magpaparinig sa inyo, anybody who will insinuate that he would like to get something from out of the transactions that you will do with the Department of Agriculture, please feel free to inform me. I will kick him out right away.
Thank you, sir. Okay, to make things more efficient, we will ask 3 questions from the audience first, and then that's when the cabinet secretaries answer. So first, Chris, sir, please state your name, your industry, and please phrase it in a question mark.
Good morning. I am Felix Velasquez. I represent Bataan Manufacturing and also with PCCI on matters, important matters like water, renewable energy, and sustainable fuel. We are blessed with so much things such that we're now in a tropical region where we have plenty of water and we have forest, rainforest. But sad to say, we're experiencing El Nino. That's why we're here with the PCCI on Water Committee. But I would like to add to the 10-point agenda, which concerns environmental enhancement. Number 11, if it is considered, is to ensure acceleration of the implementation of the Triangle of Survival. This concerns the Paris Climate Agreement of the UNFCCC, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals. As item number 12, I'd like to add, with the consent of the new cabinet members, promote local rapid and sustainable economic development, especially in vulnerable rural areas. We have 7,107 islands during high tide. Of course, no, low tide rather, but on high tide, it's a big question. Number 13, as an additional, as another suggestion, is pursue full fiscal reforms for genuine rural development, targeting the micro to medium enterprises. This means the SMEs, including access to financing and market development. And the 14th point or agenda is promote and protect water harvesting for sustainable eco-cultural tourism and renewable energy towards green growth or community-based renewable energy. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't ask a question, but I just added some suggestions.
We'd want to remind everyone that for suggestions, we will have workshops after lunch, and that's where you will put your suggestions. Okay, so second, Tony,
thank you.
please.
Good morning. I'm Dan Lachica, representing the electronics industry, and we still account for over 50% of the country's exports. We'd like to congratulate the illustrious incoming cabinet, and we assure you that the electronics industry will be behind you in uplifting our country. My question stems on, I think, what was mentioned earlier, the efficiency of transactions. President Duterte mentioned that no paperwork or applications will last more than 3 days. If you recall, there was an initiative for a national single window, and it's been going on, it's been talked about for decades. And I was just wondering, what your take is in renewing this, and if this is not going to be renewed, how to really make it happen. As it is, when the industry, and I'm sure it happens to other industries, you file permits and licenses, you have to, for example, let's talk about the chemicals. We have to do it with the Food and Drugs Administration, COMELEC, PNP, when in reality, you could just online submit an application cross-cutting across agencies. So again, the question is there a plan to resurrect the national single window? And if not, how do we realize what the President stated, that for the ease of doing business, we reduce the waiting time for processing permits and licenses? Thank you.
Okay, sir. Before you answer, sir, we'll have another question to make it more faster. Yes.
The question will cover the entire gamut of the Department of Bureaucracy. Let me answer that in relation to DOT. Insofar as reducing processing time, there is such a thing as fruits from a low-lying tree. Okay? If the license now is good for 3 years, and we will extend it for 5 years, you are actually reducing processing time. If the plate number now has validity of 3 years or 1 year, and you increase that to 3 years, you will really reduce processing time. If the driver's license will be for a period of, say, 2 or 3 years, you give that a life of 5 years, you will actually reduce processing time. These are the fruits from the low-lying trees. As I told you earlier, we have to address people, process, and system to be able to address processing time. And you have to cloth this with technology. We have to look at the processes where we can simplify processes. Remember, Dan, I mentioned earlier, insofar as DOT is concerned, our main obsession for the first 12 months is to reduce processing time by 50%. In doing that, we have to look at people, we have to look at process, we have to look at policies, and we have to cloth this with technology. Maybe at a certain point there will have to be mergers of offices. That will reduce processing time. Let me think a little bit aloud. If we are successful in adopting a system wherewith and whereby plate numbers are distributed not in the LTO or LTFRB offices, but distributed in designated auto dealership shops. Imagine if pagbili mo ng auto, may plaka na. That will reduce processing time. So as I said, addressing the entire processing time is addressing the entire gamut of the government bureaucracy. The processes will differ from one department to another simply because the requirements vary. However, the commitment of the Duterte bureaucracy is to reduce processing time. I have showed you an example on how we will reduce processing time in DOT. I am sure the other departments in the Duterte administration are equally looking deeply and seriously into their processes. Give us a little bit of time, then you will measure how we perform on the basis of real time after 1 year.
Thank you, sir.
If I may add on, because the ease of doing business was also mentioned, actually we shall be working closely with Bill Luz here. We're talking of ease of doing business to the extent that we can apply automation. Kung pwede online registration and linking it up with all the requirements, even with the other departments, LGUs, hindi lang DTI. Because in the DTI side, I think that's already, a quick process. But linking up with the LGUs is something that we will have to work very much on to really cut down the process. If Singapore can do it in 1 day, why can't we? So we will really look at what are the areas we will have to improve on and work on so that we can really cut the process, especially in terms of ease of doing business, really making it easy. Ang role ng mga negosyante is to be in business, to worry about their business, not to fall in line, and not to wait for permits. Okay, so yun ang ating itutulak. Kung pwedeng 1 day, kung 9 days siya ngayon, gawin mo ng 3 days. Kung pwedeng 1 day, automation. Especially when we're talking of renewals. renewal na lang yan. So, walang problema dyan, we will shorten it.
Dan, dagdag ko lang sa processing time. Processing time, ang tagal-tagal inaantay natin yung plaka sa yung mga lisensya. Kasi ni-import po natin yan sa Netherlands. Kung gagawin na ho, at yung plaka, DILG, kung, tapusin ko lang, kung dito na ho gagawin yung plaka, hindi ba maiibsan mo yung processing time? Kung you create jobs at home pa, hindi ho ba yung lisensya? Bakit mo ibibid yan? Paprintan na lang natin yan sa Bureau of Printing. You know? At let the Department of Transportation do the printing. Kasi nakakatagal pa yung bidding-bidding. Pag may natalo, problema kaso. That will reduce processing time.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I am from the Interior and Local Government. And in our talk with Senator Cynthia Villar last year, she mentioned that Camellia homes are in practically all cities, big cities, and municipalities in the country. And she said the only place where they had no trouble getting licenses and registrations is Davao City. So my answer to that question is, if Davao City can release licenses and registrations in 3 days, why cannot the entire Philippines do it? So we will study how Davao City does the work in the releasing of licenses. In our recent meetings at the central office in Manila, I was told that the biggest problem lies in the fire department. I asked them, if your requirement now is 20 signatures, we will reduce it to 10 signatures so that we will be able to release the licenses in 3 days' time.
Thank you, sir. So,
If not less.
we will have 4 last questions, and for all those who will not be able to ask questions, please write them down and we will address them in a while. Cecil?
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Secretaries. One of the mandates of the incoming president is to help the poor, and as explained by Secretary Ramon Lopez earlier, and I understand also that one of the priorities of the DTI will be helping the MSMEs or the MISMEs. So my question is for Secretary Dominguez, whether he is open to adopting a very simplified tax system for the MSMEs as is being done in some of the countries in Asia. Because right now we have the BMBE, but even this is not being promoted or implemented extensively by the LGUs.
What's your question again, ma'am?
Yeah. Mr. Secretary, I was asking whether you are open to adopting a very simplified tax system for the MSMEs, for the MISMEs, as is being done in some countries in Asia. Right now we have the BMBE, but then this is not even being promoted or implemented extensively by the LGUs.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Billy Dulay is here. He's the new head of the BIR. And I'm sure he has some ideas on how to simplify the tax, the payment of taxes and filing of forms.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and good morning. The mandate of the President during his campaign is really to stop corruption. And stopping corruption would include the processing time. An example is the processing of letters of authority. I'm sure all the businessmen here and taxpayer know about that. So we have considered initially on the first day to recall all letters of authority and ask RDOs, examiners, to give an account. For example, how come I hear feedback that letters of authority can last as long as 2 years, 3 years? We should put a cap on that period because it is an opportunity for what we call negotiation. The second item we would like to consider in terms of making business as less cumbersome is an immediate review of the revenue regulations, yung mga RMOs. I am hearing feedback that the requirements, there are too many requirements. If we cut down on the requirements after a review, of course, then certainly processing time of the requirements needed from the business sector would be cut down. There are a lot of things we have in place, and we will study the effect and the policy with the Secretary of Finance. Thank you.
If I may add quickly, since you raised a particular example on barangay microbusiness, the Go Negosyo Act that has been passed actually gives a certain automaticity on the approval and the granting of PMBE certificates within 15 days. So what we will have to do, given the progressive mindset of our new incoming BIR chief, is really to make sure that BIR will really be honoring the commitments that's stated anyway in the law, and really let us implement the law, because the PMBE law has always been there, but has not been given importance when it comes to execution and implementation. But since that the structure has been made such that it will now be, the request for PMBE will now be under DTI, and if there's no action taken, 15 days automatic approval, so implementation na lang, and that will really help really the surfacing and registration of barangay microbusiness and spur, economic and MSME growth in the region. So, kakausapin po natin, there'll be greater interaction with the PIR and the Department of Finance. And of course, the LGUs.
Okay. We will take 2 more
Salamat
questions.
po.
Because everyone's hungry already, and then after that, we can ask the secretaries to introduce themselves so we can mingle with the participants.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. First, allow me to commend the secretaries for showing up in force at this event. It's very valuable for us. I am Philip Sullivan. I represent the American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, and I'm also the country lead of Cargill. My question is to Secretary Piñol. Sir, if you may comment on the COCO levy funds, how you plan to unlock and deploy the funds. As you know, Mindanao is going to be one of the primary beneficiaries of any funds that are deployed from the COCO levy.
Actually, when I asked the President to make a policy statement on the COCO levy, he immediately instructed the Presidential Legal Counsel, Attorney Panelo, to look into the methodology in returning, close quote, open quote, close quote, the COCO levy funds to the farmers. You have to understand the return word in the context of processes. It may be returned as cash siguro. I don't know. This is something that the legal team is working on right now. So I would advise that we wait for the announcement of the President on the details.
Thank you. And if I may, maybe you can consider a CCT type program focused on farmers, such as coconut farmers.
Attorney Panelo, I think, is just behind you. You may discuss this with him, actually.
Thank you, sir. One last question, and then we introduce everyone so you can talk to them personally.
My name is Jerry Garcia. I'm raising this question to Secretary Tugade. Under the BOT law, the process takes about a year. But let me give you an example of my projects, MRT projects. I've started LRT Line 1 Extension South in 1997 as a managing director of a Canadian firm. We were awarded in 2001, and in 2002, we gave it back to the government because we need to protect our reputation. Now it was awarded to a conglomerate last year or early this year. Imagine, almost 20 years. My next project is MRT 7. We started it in 2005. We were awarded it 2010. We sold a large portion to San Miguel at that time. And now, only now, that the project is about to move. And that's about, again, 15 years. But the BOT law only says a year. Question, for large projects such as this, will it take another 15, 20 years for things to move? And second point, there are faster ways. Would you allow, under the BOT law, unsolicited proposals? Thank you, Mr. Secretary.